In front of me, there's a narrow passage that opens up to a mixed bottom of gravel and Posidonia. As I've done before, I dive in, slipping into the passage, and I wait for some fish to move. In the distance, I see a large school of Seabass moving from right to left. Now I have two options. Try to intercept them or wait. I decide to wait for them to move, and after about a minute, I come out into the open. The sea bass might have gone around to reappear from inside the bay. After a few meters, I see them again in the distance, and I dive in right there without taking a breath. As I imagined, they sensed my presence and are quickly moving in my direction to exit the bay. They swim past me, and I aim for the biggest one. I'm learning to fish in the shallow waters of Sardinia, basically starting from scratch. Unlike other places where I've fished, here the water is very clear. The fish tend to stay close to the shore and are quick to flee at the sight of a diver. So you need to move slowly and manage to surprise the fish while they're feeding, especially at the first light of dawn. For this type of fishing, a short and easily maneuverable spear gun is necessary. You really need to be quick to aim at the fish and shoot. And after a few months, I finally found the right line for my weapon. And today I'll try to explain my approach in this type of environment. It's essential to move like a cat to explore all the nooks and small bays. You need to spot the fish from a distance and sneak up on them. It's very important to understand when to keep moving and when it's necessary to stop to allow the curious fish to come closer to us. The sea bream I saw from a distance is now within range, but it's too small, so I decide not to shoot. This is the final phase of an ambush lasting about a minute and a half. I'm running low on breath, and behind a rock, there's a bream that's feeding. In the video, you'll see it first, because the camera is higher than my eyes. When I see it, it's too late, and the sea bream swims away. Knowing the area is essential. Fish do indeed move from the same spots with reasonable certainty. We'll find them there. What happened with this bream that was in the crevice of the rock? As soon as I dive in, I come up to check and manage to take an easy shot. The more observant among you might have noticed at the beginning of the clip a nice bream feeding on the right, but I only realized it when I reviewed the footage. Even in shallower water, we can find some nice surprises. At the bottom of this channel, I saw the reflection of a bream, and I'm trying to make as little noise as possible. I get closer to catch it by surprise while it's feeding. During this operation, I'm diving and I keep turning to the right and left, because a bigger fish might suddenly appear. After a long journey, I managed to surprise it with some effort. The sea bream, but it's small. However, the technique was effective. Sometimes the fish manages to escape without us even seeing it. In this small bay, I saw a rat eating. When fish are feeding, they're distracted because the noise they make covers that of the spearfisher. I move very slowly, sneaking behind the rock where I saw the rat. And after a while, I finally get behind the rock, but the fish has disappeared into the open water. Sometimes you have to seize the opportunity on the fly. I saw these barracudas at the last second and shot without diving. When the fish approaches calmly and we're on the surface, we shouldn't dive because otherwise it would get scared and swim away. Instead, we need to look for the shot from the surface, which is more difficult because of the waves that move the spear gun. Right after catching the barracuda, I see a big sea bass coming straight at me. But I turn on the camera at the last moment, and while waiting for it to start recording, I take the shot, inevitably grazing the fish. I should have pulled the trigger when the fish was facing me. In fact, in that case, it wouldn't have had any chance at all. Unfortunately, it's not easy to record videos like this without an operator. Due to the short battery life, I'm actually forced to turn on the camera. Only when I see the fish, and very often the catch slips away. It's not uncommon to encounter other two-bottom hunters. They definitely don't have camera issues. This is a seagull drying its wings on this rock. Sometimes you come across particularly favorable situations. In this bay, there's a school of bream that is located mid-water. They are not my target. Behind the bream, there could actually be some much more interesting fish. After a few seconds, a school of small snapper actually approaches. But even though they are young, they don't come close. This shows that on calm sea days with clear water, appearance is definitely not the winning technique in bottom fishing. That's why I decide to move a few meters and try an ambush, where the bream are. The idea is to go around the rock that will hide the fish from me and then move towards the school. During the descent, I never look at the fish. I actually notice that looking at it, the sun reflects off the mask like a mirror, and the fish swims away. As soon as I emerge from the rock, I see a lot of fish and a bream, and it's coming straight at me. The shot is easy and the fish ends up on the line. This bream was also caught by the tail. In fact, when shot, the fish spun around trying to dodge the spear. Although it seemed still, it was incredibly fast and almost outpaced the spear. That's exactly why you need agile and fast cushions. In this case, I decide to persist in the same spot. The fish, in fact, don't seem to be particularly scared. So I decide to dive behind the rock to move slowly forward. As soon as I dive in, another curious bream approaches, and I manage to shoot quickly. These fish seem small, but the effect of the wide-angle lens makes the distance misleading, which doesn't help in accurately judging the size of the catch. On my right, there's a nice fish. Let's talk about the Mediterranean, a very common fish along these coasts. But it's not always Sunday. Very often, in fact. It happens to mistake fish that seem to be caught. It happens for various reasons. The most common mistake is misjudging the actual size of the fish and the distance it's at, especially when the water is very clear. That's what happens with this mullet, which, by the way, anticipates way too much, misjudging its speed. But this is also part of the game. Unfortunately, there are always a lot of criticisms about certain videos, but the more experienced divers, who are lucky enough to go out to sea multiple times a week, and always in the same spots for years, and therefore know them well, don't have to deal with, among the 1,000 difficulties of constant relocations, the challenging management of cameras and batteries. To create a quality video, you have to sacrifice fishing, and unfortunately, you only have an hour of filming available. But I do it for passion, and to give those who don't have the opportunity a few minutes with me in the beautiful underwater landscapes of our country.